welcome back. You're still watching Countdown with us. Just about 27 to 28 minutes to go for markets to close, and we're getting a lot of earnings. I just want to address Aster DM Healthcare. The numbers came in just a few minutes back, and the stock has seen good amount of gains. The revenues came in at 2,200 crore vis-a-vis 178 crore, which was seen in the corresponding quarter. The profits are at 209 versus 190. And look at that, just after the numbers came in, the stock saw that surge of about 7%. Some announcement also, the company said it shall enter into a new line of business vertical, Aster Laboratories Path Labs. So on account of earnings and also some announcement coming by for Aster DM Healthcare, the stock's seen good gains. But overall, for the markets, Nifty is back above the mark of 11,900. It was looking like a case of profit booking because we've been inching higher in the last 3 to 4 days. This is also the expiry week, so probably you could witness some bit of volatility. Bank Nifty is also above the mark of 31,500. What is outperforming today is the IT pack, your Nifty IT, also the Nifty media indices. Both of them are the major sectoral gainers. IT up almost 1.2, and the Nifty media index has seen gains of about 1.2%. Weakness, however, seen for a couple of banking counters because we've seen Nifty Bank and also individual banking stocks outperforming when the market started to go higher. But which are the other stocks, in fact, which are the Fab Four stocks that feature in Sharad Dubey's list? Let's go across to him and find out. Hi, Sharad. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Avni. The first stock is Z Entertainment Prices. It came out with a good set of numbers, and the revenues were up almost 17%. Operationally also the numbers were good, and it actually beat the estimates where the ad growth was very strong despite a high tariff order. However, the multiple brokerages still have a concern regarding the balance sheet numbers. Up next we are having Kirloskar Oil Engine, which is up almost 11%, is the biggest gainer in the Nifty 500 index, and also the volumes are trading almost 12 times its 20-day average, and also in the RSI index it's at around above 70, which shows that the stock is overbought. Up next we are having NHPC, which came out with a good set of quarterly numbers, which is up almost 8% after the revenues were almost 71% up at almost 1950 odd crore rupees, and the net profit rose by almost 2.5 times. The last stock we are having is Motherson Sumi, which is up almost 2.8%. As in yesterday's post market hours, the management were very bullish about the company's prospects, and they were also expecting a strong FY20 despite the auto slowdown, and they also expect the BS6 compliant cars to come in and be auguring well for the company.
All right, Sharad, thanks very much for that. Those are the Fab Four stocks of the day. Let's bring in Neeraj Dewan of Quantum Securities. He's joining us on the show right now. Neeraj, a very good afternoon to you. What is it that you're closely monitoring right now in the current environment? We've been seeing, while volatility definitely has come off, individual stocks on the back of earnings have been seeing bigger reactions.
Yeah, good afternoon. I think post the mandate that the election outcome gave to the government, I think the mid-cap stocks, the small-cap stocks are the ones which are coming back to little more reasonable levels, because last, I think, almost 15 months we had seen the mid-cap market had really collapsed, and most of the portfolios were bleeding because of the losses in the mid-cap and the small-cap space. So there, we are looking at companies where in the last 3-4 quarters the performance has been decent, and in spite of the good performance, the stocks were available at decent valuations. So that is one space where we were sensing that if you have a decent outcome and a stable government to the election, then I think there is one space where you will get traction going ahead, and that is what is visible in the market for the last 3-4 days. That you've seen some buying coming back into these mid-cap names, and even in the large-cap space, there was the sentiment which had got beaten down, so which was reflected in a lot of the sectors, like something like FMCG. Consumption space was one which was beaten down because of the sentiment and the NBFC problem in the last couple of quarters. So that is also one space where valuations are very reasonable. So one needs to now look at building a portfolio for the next 1 year, and though next couple of months can be still volatile because of global factors, or because of after rally you may get some more consolidation, you will get announcement from the government of what is the intent. So based on that, you can still have some volatility in the next couple of months.
All right. So if you had to put fresh money to work at this point, at this juncture, Neeraj, at a level of 11,948, oh, by the way, market has really turned around for the good. I mean, after being down, it slipped below that 11,900 mark, somewhere closer to 11,870 odd. From there, it's quite a decent pickup. Even the Nifty Bank has reversed most of his losses. At one point, it's down 260 points. Now it's down just 17 odd points. So a very good reversal that's come in for the benchmark indices, driven higher by some of these banks. So, Neeraj, I was asking you about where exactly would you put fresh money to work?
Basically, one space that I mentioned is the consumption space. So, if FMCG space, if you go for, non-discretionary companies, so there, we don't get these companies at 32, 33 times 1 year forward earnings. Now, because of the slowdown in the consumption the last 3-4 months, we're getting them at those kind of valuations. So this is one space where we are putting money, and other space definitely is the banking space where you have opportunities as far as the PSU banks are concerned, because this quarter also some PSU banks have come out with decent numbers. The asset quality improvement is visible there. There is credit growth also which is coming back. So in that space also we have opportunities. Besides that, even the private sector banks, smaller banks, which are lending to MSME, that is also one space where I feel one can look at selective banks. And besides banking and FMCG, then you have the capital good infrastructure space where, because of very good order book position of most of the companies, I think the execution which has slowed down in the last quarter can pick up going ahead. So that is one space also where you can get valuation comfort, and there's some companies will be available at still decent valuation. And then coming to the smaller sector like a chemical good sector, where you've seen that the companies which the chemical companies have been doing well the last couple of years, and some had corrected with the mid cap correction in the last 1 year. So there also you have opportunities. So I think one needs to make a balanced portfolio and be invested for 1.5 years, and I think you can get decent returns from these levels also.
All right. We'd earlier on spoken to Sacchitanand, and he'd given his call on the index, and we seem to have come off from the day's lows and are doing relatively well. I believe, Sacchitanand, you have a call on Infosys.
Yeah, that's right, Devina. In fact, the way markets have turned around, in fact, a lot of contribution has been from this particular counter. Even the way the overall structure has been shaped up right now, we are expecting that this move should extend right up to 745, 746 zone in Infosys. The stop loss for the trade should be now placed at around 717, and long positions can be considered in Infosys.
Okay, in fact, the IT pack has been doing well in fee, but in the last few minutes of trade has seen incremental gains coming about. It's a heavy weight on the index, so probably the recovery that you've seen on Nifty could be on account of these stocks. In fact, the Nifty contributors list can throw a better picture as to how much contribution is coming from stocks like Infosys and also TCS, which has been up in today's trading session. So there you go in fee, right on top, contributing 20 points. So had it not been for Nifty's movement, index would have been just about flattish, and Reliance since morning has been doing pretty well. Amar, individual stock check on something like Z now, which is up about 5.5%. It's at around 380, a beaten down counter. What would you do at levels of about 381, almost at day's high?
I would say that looking at Z, what we are seeing is that the stock on the daily charts is witnessing bullish divergence after making a low of 309 on 15th May, and technically it's looking positive on the short-term charts. Long-term charts, however, remain a cause of concern, but they also have taken strong support. So there is a possibility that if we look at this particular stock, it can rally towards 395, 400 levels, provided 383, 384 level is taken out, because that technically is a very strong resistance zone for Z. But the possibility of that being taken out is quite high. Whereas on the downside, the stock has been consolidating, so some good level of support is around 365 levels.
Okay, that's Z for you. Sun Pharma will be coming out with its numbers today. The stock ahead of the numbers is not just about trading flattish or mildly in the red at levels of about 412 to 413. In fact, in the first half of the session, the stock was trading in the positive territory. Neeraj, this is one pocket which is not done well at all, with markets also moving higher, and some analysts on the street definitely stating that there is some bit of valuation comfort now for these pharma stocks which have corrected a lot. What should one do here? Are there any picks that, or is there any stock in this particular sector that you would look to buy at lower levels?
Yeah, I would agree that there's valuation comfort, but then the valuation comfort has been there for quite some time. And if you're invested in these pharma stocks, you're not really making any money in the last couple of years. So you like one stock, you invest into at a good valuation, but you don't know what will hit you as far as compliance is concerned. So I would really not be too optimistic of this space right now. I would like to see some stability coming back in some companies. Though there'll be some companies which are in our portfolio, like something like a Cadila, which have been little more stable, and there'll be a DV Lab. These companies are a little more stable as far as the earnings is concerned and compliance is concerned. So one can, put in small amount of money in pharma, but I'm not really too positive on this space as of now.
Okay, Divi's Laboratory, remember, yesterday was down 9 to 10% in trade, and some bit of recovery seen here. The numbers of this one would also come in day before yesterday at 16.16. Let's go across to Yatin to find out what the dealing rooms are recommending in trade today. Hi Yatin, good afternoon. Which are the stocks that the dealing room are recommending?
Good afternoon, Navneet. And if you look at PNB and other PSU banking stocks, most of them have seen a lot of correction after the recent move. So essentially dealers are indicating that there is a lot of profit taking which is happening in as far as the PSU banking pack is concerned, and they expect that to continue. Look at PNB, that is down 3.5%. Of course, the quarterly numbers were slightly weaker than the street expectations, loss coming in at over 4,750 crores for the fourth quarter, and this is the reaction on the earnings as far as PNB is concerned. Dish TV, this is one stock moves in tandem with ZTV. All of these group stocks have been fairly active in the future and option segment, and on the basis of F&O trends, dealers recommend a buy today, sell tomorrow kind of a strategy as far as this stock is concerned. Almost 2.5 crore shares traded in the cash segment as far as this stock is concerned. And finally, Wipro, this is one IT company which is outperforming peer set and other IT companies. Of course, we have the buyback which is announced, and that is providing support to the share price. Dealers do indicate that HNIs are buyers in trade ahead of the buyback X date, which is expected to be there somewhere around next month. Of course, this is speculative, not confirmed by the company, but still this is a hope trade wherein dealers expect some HNI buying to continue.
All right. Yatin, thanks very much for that. That's what dealers are recommending this afternoon. Taking a look at some of the other names that have reported numbers over the last few days. And one stock I want to talk about is Oil India. The stock, obviously, you've seen how most of these oil marketing companies have done, but Oil India being an upstream company there, with crude oil coming off, it doesn't really work in the favor. But this time around, they had a one-time hit that they took, and that's why the profit numbers look the way they did. They had a pension fund hit, one-time hit that they took, employee pension fund, and that's the reason why the profit numbers came off. But other than that, numbers were not all that bad. 183 on Oil India. Within the oil and gas pack, now that we've seen some amount of stability in crude oil prices, Neeraj, would there be any interest in either the upstream names or some of these oil marketing companies?
I think some of these oil marketing companies can be looked at because oil right now is looking somewhat stable in that 69, 72 kind of a band, and if oil is staying at these levels, I think because of the valuation which they're trading at right now, I think oil marketing companies can be looked at these levels also.
Okay, just a quick chart check. Since we've already seen a big run-up in HP, BP, IOC, within the three, Amar, Singh, what would you like to take a trade on, either on the upside or the downside, if at all you envisage profit taking on any of these names?
Yeah, I would look at, if I look at the HPCL is a better option because the stock has breached a crucial resistance zone of 305, 310. So currently it's around 318. So I would say any pullback towards 315, 314. Ideally, that can be used as a buying opportunity. On the upside, the stock has a potential of rallying towards 335, 340 levels.
Okay, that's a buy on HPCL. Pull up the stock price of Venky's India. That stock's seen a sudden spurt in the last few minutes of trade. Venky's is now up about 13 to 14%, trading around the levels of 2070. It's crossed the mark of 2000. Remember, all-time high or 52-week highs northwards of 3000. Sacchitanand, if I could come to you, it's backed by volumes as well on the cash side. Would you take a bet here?
Well, I think the momentum is very good. In fact, I won't be surprised if we see levels close to around 2270 within during this particular swing itself. The stop loss for the trade from here on should be placed somewhere close to 1955, and longs can be considered here.
Okay, that's the technical view coming in on Venky's India. The other one, by the way, which came out with the numbers was Adani Gas. So that's been up and about since the morning session, where the bottom line was nearly doubled for the company at about 75 crore, 14% higher for this one. Neeraj, if I could ask you, in terms of earnings which have come by, is there anything in particular which stood out according to you?
Basically, the mid-caps earnings are coming now. So, but the ones which we track, among them, there were some companies like Bank of Baroda came out with a very decent set of earnings. So that is one we are positive on. Canara Bank also came out with a decent set of earnings. Then some of these gold finance companies, their earnings have been pretty decent. So there, I think the momentum is good. So among the smaller ones which we look at, though there are companies like Jindal Stainless and Jindal Stainless SR, though last couple of quarters have not been so good. So we are not too hopeful of this quarter also, but their earnings were a little better than our expectation because the debt levels had come down. So these are the stocks which recently the earnings have come and they've been a little better than what we've been expecting.
All right. I think we're awaiting SpiceJet numbers. Should pull up the stock actually ahead of numbers. Remember, Interglobe Aviation really set the stage going for SpiceJet to see whether or not it's managed to put on a good show or no. But the stock has reacted negatively, so I would want to assume that the initial reaction to the numbers is not all that good. Expectations, however, standalone numbers, revenues were expected to come in higher by 28%. And, once we get the numbers, we will be able to tally the expectations versus the actuals. But EBITDA margins were expected to come in at 21%, and net profits was seen up at 115 odd crores, and the yields, which was up about 12.5% for Interglobe Aviation, was seen up by 8% for SpiceJet at rupees 4 per kilometer versus rupees 3.7. That's what you've got in terms of the profit number. So it's almost more than half of what the street was expecting, what the Bloomberg estimate was of 115 odd crores in terms of the profit numbers. So 115 there versus what you've got of 56.29 crores. And that's not looking really, it's not looking like it's going down too well. But after that initial steep correction, the stock has already recovered. So that's what you've got in terms of the numbers. Revenues, I believe, have come in at 2,530 crores. So that is also a tad below what our estimates were. Our estimates were 2,601. So a few crores lesser than what the Bloomberg estimates were. Capacity is seen up, but more numbers to flow. Yield numbers have not yet come in, but let's see what they stack up at.
Well, the stock, however, is not reacting that well. As of now, the top line, bottom line, actually it's bounced back from the lows that we saw. Now, maybe there are some one-offs. We still need to see the fine print of the earnings, which we don't have right now. But definitely the stock, after falling post the earnings, has seen some bit of recovery coming by, up almost 3% in trade. Come in here, Neeraj, Dewan, very quickly. We had Interglobe Aviation number where the management commentary was quite encouraging. The guidance was pretty good for FY20. And now we've got SpiceJet, just the initial numbers. Profits are 56 crore, but it's below what the street was estimating this time around.
Yeah, actually, you've seen that because of Jet Airways not being flying now, so both these companies are gaining. I think Indigo has gained more when you look at the numbers than SpiceJet, so that is clear from the numbers which have come for both the companies. So I feel the momentum should continue for them and the growth will be there. But then, the stocks have run up so much from the lower levels. in the last 2-3 months that I think at these levels, I would not really advise someone to do a fresh entry in these stocks, and one should wait for some correction to enter into these companies because the upward momentum has been pretty strong the last couple of months.
All right, I'm told that they have said that they're looking at a capacity expansion of 80% for the upcoming year. Remember, when we're looking at Interglobe Aviation's numbers, they are also looking at expanding capacity, but I think that was more to the tune of about 30 or 35%. This is a big number, in fact, if they're looking at a capacity expansion of 80%. Remember, they've already crossed that aircraft tally of about 100 aircrafts. They're looking at about 180 routes. So all of those aspects working in favor of both Interglobe Aviation and SpiceJet. So a full recovery, almost a full recovery for the stock price, back at 150 now. Volumes have picked up about 8.9 million.
Yep, I think we've got the release here. Capacity in terms of seat per kilometer for the quarter gone by is up 21%. Profits have grown by about 22% despite grounding of MAX aircraft is what they've highlighted. Revenues from the operations were up 25% despite of a seasonally weak quarter. And average fare, I think that's going to be an important metric to be watched out. That was up 11% for the quarter gone by. And it also registers industry's highest domestic load factor, which is the other metric which people watch out in aviation companies. That's about 92.5% and higher profit than a traditionally stronger quarter three is what the company is currently stating. Okay, so that's the SpiceJet for you. But the markets, by the way, have recovered most of its losses, or rather both Nifty, Bank Nifty are right now trading in the positive territory. Let's quickly get you some closing strategies from our experts. Amar Singh, any ST-BT or any BT-ST for tomorrow's trade that you would take right now?
Yeah, I would say that one can look at Ambuja Cement. This is one stock which continues to remain extremely positive. Currently it's around 238 levels, so any pullback in the stock towards 235 can be used as a buying opportunity with a stop loss below 230 and a target of 245 in the short term.
Okay, Ambuja Cement's buy, which has recovered from the day's low. Sacchitanand, what about you?
Well, since the momentum is witnessed in most of the mid caps, one stock that has been hitting our radars is Blue Star. So the stock has already managed to breach from a continuation pattern, a bullish pennant. And if you look at the momentum right now, we expect that this particular momentum should extend right up to 840, 845. So some long positions can be still added here. 777 should be the stop loss for the trade in Blue Star.
Okay, buy on Blue Star, which is a day's high. The other stock which has gone up in trade is Mangalore Chemical and Fertilizer. That's up about 12 to 13% as we speak. Neeraj, before we thank you, any individual stock or sector which according to you could outperform now in the near term?
I think FMCG space is one where the valuation comfort is there. So if you look at a stock like a Godrej Consumer Products or a Dabur, I think over the next 6 months to 1 year, I think they can give you decent returns from these levels. So I think they would be the companies to look at in the FMCG space.
Okay, Neeraj, we'll leave it at that note. Thanks a lot for joining us and taking us through your views on the market. Nifty is at 11,943. Bank Nifty trading with gains of about 31,000, gains of about 6 to 7, but trading very firmly above the mark of 31,656. But in terms of gainers on Nifty, you've got Z, which is your top gainer. Yes Bank has seen gains of about 4.5%. And actually, majority of the gains that you've seen, or rather the recovery for market, has come in from Infosys. The way it has moved in last half an hour to 45 minutes of trade, that's a heavy weight with almost 5% weightage on Nifty. That's up about 3.5%. The other stocks which have gone up is Coal India. That's also seen a surge of 2.5%. And steel makers, Vedanta and JSW Steel, have seen gains of about 1.5 to 2%. Amar, anything specific with regard to any steel company that you would take a trade on, something like JSW or Vedanta?
Yeah, looking at JSW Steel, if we look at the stock, has rallied today, and it has, I would say, corrected from 295 levels. But the trend remains positive for this from a short-term and intermediate-term trend. Long-term, it's moving from oversold territory, so there is a possibility that we could see some further upside. So what one can do is only the stock trading above 290, 94, 95 levels, then we could expect the stock to rally towards 310 levels. So a breakout is a better option for this particular stock.
Okay, buy on JSW Steel. What's not doing well is Bajaj Auto. By the way, that stock's down nearly 3%, one of the top losers on Nifty. You also got Hero MotoCorp alongside Bajaj Auto, which has gone down. Look at that chart, it's just a day's low. Hero MotoCorp also sitting with cuts of about 2.5%. Amar Singh, any thoughts on these two-wheeler stocks, Bajaj and Hero Moto?
Yeah, I would say that if you look at Bajaj Auto, what we are seeing on the weekly chart says that the stock was in for consolidation, unable to breach the and sustain above the 3100 mark. And on the daily charts also, we've seen some if you look at Japanese candle patterns, so there are some bearish patterns on the chart, and today there has been some sell-off. On the downside, I would say 15th May low of 29.01, that should act as an immediate level of support, and crucial zone of support would be around 28.50. So it's more or less consolidation for Bajaj Auto. Upside seems to be capped.
All right, gentlemen, just stay on with us. We'll get those closing comments going. But time now to wrap up the market, and it's a full recovery from the day's lows, and probably, not at the highest point of the day, but still decent enough. In the green by about 0.1% for the Nifty. Sensex is up about 1/3%. That's 110 odd points in the Sensex. The Nifty led by what's been happening to banks. Banks are at 1 point down, almost 0.7%. 260 points down for the Nifty Bank. Translates into last moment gains, where we've seen the Bank Nifty shutting shop, almost going to shut shop in the green. Taking a look at what's been happening in terms of the individual stock movers on the index, big moves coming in from a Z. It started off the day with about 3.5% gains, added more by the end of the trading session. 5.5% for Z. Yes Bank, the third or fourth straight day where the stock's not doing all that badly, is up 4%. Infosys, a heavyweight on the index, so a 3% move on the upside would lend some support to the benchmark index. Vedanta, Coal India, Power Grid, all of these stocks doing well. So metals and mining as a pack are within your top few performers in today's session, and Reliance Industries contributes as well, about 1.5% for Reliance Industries. Tech Mahindra within the IT pack is the other one, and Wipro too. Amongst the losers, Bharti Infra is down about 4%. Bajaj Auto looks weak. So auto as a pack continues to reel under pressure, and cement too looks weak in today's session. So you've got an Ultratech Cement which is losing about 1.7%. Bajaj Finserv is down. You've got L&T which sees some amount of profit taking. Remember, the stock almost nudged 1600 over the last 2 or 3 trading sessions. In fact, post the election announcement, the stock moved and rallied almost 7 to 8%. So there is some profit taking that's coming in on this counter. And the biggest loser is amongst the others, Bharti Infratel, while you've got Bharti Airtel down about 1.7%. But what's been happening in the broader market space with the recovery that we've seen in the large cap space, Navneet?
Well, Devina, the template remains the same. There was buying once again, which emerged from the lower levels, but a lot of stocks moving around on back of earnings or maybe some technical reasons. So let's take you through a couple of gainers first. Astim DM came out with the numbers a while back, and good set of numbers. After the numbers, we did see the stock moving higher. The profits for the quarter came in at 209 crore, and the stock closing with gains of about nearly 5%. Adani Gas came out with its numbers yesterday, and the stock reacted when the markets opened. 52-week high for this one, around 162, closing with gains of about 13%. So good going for Adani Gas. The PAT, by the way, the profits for the quarter nearly doubled to 76 crore. NHPC numbers were pretty good, and right from the word go, we did see the stock reacting to those numbers. The profits here were up almost 2.5 times, 7.5% higher here. Motherson Sumi, a laggard in the last 1 month. The stock is corrected nearly 19 to 20% in the May series. Maybe some bit of short covering was seen after the numbers came in yesterday. 3% here. Akshar Chemical, a small cap company, I think with a market cap of about 250 to 300 crores. Since we've been talking about chemical companies, this one was up and about and locked in upper circuit with gains of 20%. The other one from the futures and options pack, you had Kaveri Seed, which went up in today's trading session. Some buying was seen here. Kaveri Seeds finally closing around the day's high level of about 7.5. And Bidla Soft is the other F&O gainer for the day, which saw some buying coming in at lower levels. This one was also up and about. But TVS Electronics, another small cap counter, this is up over 30%, by the way, in the month of May. So good going here, 15% higher. And Kirloskar Oil Engines was the other stock from the broader market, which saw some momentum coming back, and this one saw gains of about closer to 14 to 15%. On the losing side, second straight day of lower circuit for Manpasand beverages, 20% lower here. Dewan housing was in focus in today's session. There were a lot of intraday volatile moves coming about. As you can see, there was a time when the stock fell nearly 6 to 7% in trade, some bit of recovery seen, but finally closing with cuts of about 3.5%. IDFC was the other one. Remember, the banking stocks have been moving higher, so today was a day when there was some bit of profit booking definitely seen, 5% lower here. And Max Financial, this one will be coming out with its numbers today, and ahead of that there is some weakness seen for Max Financial. In fact, towards the end of the session the stock saw further selling, finally closing with cuts of about closer to 4%, Davina.
All right, so that's what you've got for today's session. The Nifty and the Sensex ending the day in the green, while the Nifty Bank finally shut shop with marginal cuts of about 49 odd points. Taking a look at the broader market and the breadth thereabouts, while the indices picked up as well towards the end, after almost seeing that convergence, in the end you did see the gap once again playing out. So 824 stocks advanced, a decline of about 705.
Well, yep, the market's recovering in the last half an hour of trade. You also saw the India VIX falling, I guess. The India VIX was down nearly 2% towards the end. Oh, actually, no, it's closing flattish with some mild bit of gains around the levels of 16.2. So volatility is just about the same around the levels of 16. In terms of participation, this is the expiry week, so you will see F&O turnover at least picking up every single day. NSE cash turnover is really high. I think this is the number, Davina, we saw on May 23rd as well.
Yeah, this is actually quite a high number. 50,000 plus that we've been witnessing is quite a high number. And even for the F&O, this is probably the expiry week kicking in. So you would start seeing these numbers. In fact, 17 to 18 lakh crores is what you start to get just 1 or 2 days ahead of expiry. And lastly, I think the point contributors on the index and what's moved. So Reliance Industries, Infosys, both heavyweights there. TCS adding another 4.5 odd points along with HDFC Bank. On the losing end, some profit taking on L&T, Kotak Mahindra Bank and HDFC Limited look weak in today's session. Closing comments from both our technical experts then. Sacchitanand, why don't we start off with you?
Well, the closing has been very good. In fact, the recovery has been really smart. And if you look at some of the indicators, they are still in a comforting zone for markets to rally forward. So what we are expecting is that the market should see levels close around 12,000, 12,100 during this particular swing itself, and we maintain our bullish bias and the recommendation stays intact. 11,860 on a closing basis, until and unless this particular level is not violated, the trajectory and the momentum clearly stays on the bullish side.
Amar Singh, what about you?
I would say the bias definitely remains in favor of the bulls. So, and technically also, if you look at the charts, clearly reflecting the same. So, I would say that on the downside, it would be somewhere around 11,750, 11,800. That's a very crucial zone of support. So, till the time we don't see a breach below those levels, we could see some pullback. However, on the upside, the recent high of 12,050 approximately. So, that should be a level of resistance. So, we could see some consolidation, but yes, lower levels will be bought into and higher levels would be sold into. So this is a range with a positive bias definitely. The daily charts continue to display strong bullish momentum. The weekly charts are also displaying the same. However, on the hourly charts, we are seeing some sort of, I would say, divergence. That's the reason we are seeing this sort of consolidation. But with the overall trend remaining positive, so any dip is being used as a buying opportunity.
All right. We'll let you go on that note. Thanks very much, Amar Singh as well as Sacchitanand. Appreciate the both of you taking out the time this afternoon and speaking with us.
Thank you.
And on that note, it's the end of Countdown. Thanks a lot for watching. From Navneet, myself and the entire team that's put the show together. Have a great evening.